Tonight on News 5 Live, Javis Wagner is the third victim in his family to have fallen to gun violence. In the courts, the PUP challenges GOP for spending more than $1 billion without the required House approval. And an Orange Walk resident is charged for causing the death of Rudolph Russell, who was crushed by a delivery truck. Belize commemorates International Children's Day with a children's parliament. And in the grand finale of KTV Latino, Desmond Berry takes home the title and cash. Details of these stories and more coming up in tonight's newscast.
Smart customers, this is your chance to win big with Smart and Quartz Mega Raffle 2019. Starting November 6th through December 23rd, for every $5 you use on calls, texts, data, and roaming bundles for the week, you'll get one
Good evening. Welcome to News 5 Live for Wednesday, November 20th. I am Marlene Cuellar. The third member of the Wagner family was murdered in Danriga on the eve of Garifuna Settlement Day. The southern municipality was overflowing with revelers in anticipation of the holiday when death came knocking at the door of Javis Wagner. The 20-year-old was on Commerce Street when one of three gunmen, believed to be from Belize City, opened fire. Javis was hit on the forehead, causing his immediate death. His stepfather, Edwin Nazario, and his brother, Jebran Wagner, have also died violently. Javis was scheduled to travel today to remove himself from the violence that has plagued his family. Instead, his funeral is being planned. Police report that they were keeping a close watch on him, but that somehow he had returned to Danriga for the celebrations unknown to them. Here is News 5's Isani Caetano.
Scores of visitors from across the country converged in the culture capital on Monday ahead of the Garifuna Settlement Day celebration on November 19th. So did Javis Wagner's killer. It is believed that whoever fatally attacked the 20-year-old here on Commerce Street in front of his grandmother's place of business is not a resident of Danriga. A close friend of his who witnessed the execution spoke with the media off camera.
I was walking through an alley and I saw three lone gunmen, and at the moment one of other friend arrived on a cycle. He stopped and checked what was the problem. When one lone gunman, his gun snapped at him. The next gunman turned around and shot Jav in his forehead, and one of them dropped. The next young man that the gun snapped on, he ended up to chase one of the gunman, but the gunman fired a single shot through an alley. And the gunman exchanged words with the young man, and that was it.
And, just like that, another young life was snuffed out, the third tragedy for one family since the murder of Wagner's stepfather, Edwin Nazario, on July 12th.
Police were called to the area, and upon arrival they saw the lifeless body of Mr. Wagner on the ground. He was taken to the Southern Regional Hospital and was pronounced dead on arrival. I must say that we sympathize with the mother. She must be going through a really tough time, having lost her common law husband, then a son, then a second son, to gun violence.
There are several theories behind the string of murders plaguing this beleaguered family. At the time of Nazario's death, it was suspected that the brazen attack during which he was shot multiple times in the parking lot of Southern Regional Hospital was drug-related. Since then, Javis's elder sibling, Jebran Suku Wagner, has also been callously rubbed out in a hail of bullets. He was attending a party on Coney Drive in Belize City when he met his end. Monday night's deadly shooting has police in Danriga in search of a suspect.
We continue to investigate the matter. We are looking for a person of interest. Once that person is caught, then we'll see where the investigation goes from there. We know that certain information was fed to us about 2 weeks ago where Jahim was concerned. And we had made checks with his family and were told that he had moved from Danriga and had been living in some other area of the country. Apparently he returned to Danriga unknowing to us. And we only knew of his return after he was killed.
By all accounts, Javis's murder had been foretold. Despite arrangements to travel outside of the country today, he returned to Danriga to celebrate Garifuna Settlement Day with family and friends, against the advice of those closest to him.
He was preparing to leave the country due to his brother and his stepfather that died on gun violence. Jav's supposed to be flying out today. Jav's supposed to fly out today.
At the time of his brother's death, Jarvis told News 5 that he was all cried out over the misfortune that had befallen his family, but also acknowledged that his sibling resided in the Majestic Alley neighborhood.
I'm a person that cover up or something for my brother, understand me, but my brother live through Majestic Alley and thing, understand me, so right away you involved in a something, understand me, but nothing I really know about, understand me, because when we go about a straight smile and love and partying and dance, check on my brother love dancing and so my brother love and full of joy, and every time I go around my brother it's a smile upon his face, and other person I want to chill with my brother, but here I want to do it, understand me, because he's my friend, understand my brother my friend, and I can't celebrate my birthday happy now because my brother December the 23rd and I December the 24th. And we celebrate one day apart. We celebrate our birthday together. You understand me? I celebrate his one, then he celebrate my one and me. You understand me? So I take this very hard, man. I don't tell I cry. I feel like I run out of tears. I just wait for the funeral all day.
The heartbreak of losing a husband and 2 children, all to gun violence, weighs heavily on the mother's being. Commissioner of Police Chester Williams extends his condolences to the family, notwithstanding the circumstances surrounding the tragedy.
I could just imagine what she's going through. I don't think that no woman or no person deserves to suffer what she's suffering now. But I'm sure that the good Lord is going to bless her with strength and understanding to be able to overcome the travesty that she's going through at this time.
Reporting for News 5, I am Isani Cayetano.
Commissioner of Police Chester Williams says that the police will maintain an increased presence in Danriga. The police department will be carrying out a number of operations in that town, which in recent weeks has been plagued by rivalries. The commissioner says that he is confident that they will be able to stem the surge in criminal activities in that municipality, but they need the public's cooperation and patience.
I can assure the people of Danriga that just as we did over the Garifan Settlement Day holiday, we are going to maintain a very strong presence in Danriga town for this week and going into next week. I have directed my Commander of Operations, Mr. Vidal, to coordinate and execute operations in Danriga to target those persons who we believe are involved in these different activities in Danriga. And so we'll do what we can from a police standpoint. And I, again, remain optimistic with the fact that coming the end of this month, Recruit Squad number 94 will be departing the National Training Academy to do the on-the-job training across the country. And again, Danriga Town will receive 17 of those officers to do on-the-job training in Danriga. So they'll be able to complement the already existing staff in Danriga so that they can spread out and cover a more wider area. And with that, we'll also be sending in the operational units, the GSU, the MIT, and the SPU on a weekly basis to do operations. So I want to ask the people to be patient with us. I know.
Police also gave an update on another case in Danriga involving a gruesome murder. In early August, we reported that missing man Derek Ramirez's body had washed up in Danriga. Ramirez's body was found decapitated after he was missing for over a week at Cross Key when his boat was attacked. Back then, we told you that one of the persons being questioned in connection with the murder had escaped police custody. That person, Oscar Williams Jr., as we had reported, is believed to be alive. Today, Commissioner Chester Williams reiterates this to say that Williams Jr. is believed to be in a neighboring country. You'll also recall that the officers involved, a corporal and an inspector, were placed on interdiction and administrative leave. The 2 officers decided to remove Williams Jr. from detention and take him to the spot where Ramirez went missing. Officers on the island heard screams, and later the 2 officers returned to the police station, explaining that a handcuffed Williams managed to escape. Today, Commissioner Williams gave an update on the status of the 2 officers.
The matter in respect to one of the police officers, It was 2 police officers. One of them, the tribunal has commenced. It is part heard at this time. The other one, because of the fact that he's a senior officer, that has to go to the Services Commission. We have initiated the action where that is concerned. But I must point out that the individual who had escaped, and we may have feared the worst, have since emerged. We know he's alive, and from what information we have is that he may be somewhere in Honduras, eluding the police. And so one would expect that if the officers are to be found guilty in the tribunals, that the outcome will not be as severe as if it would have been had the individual who had escaped not resurfaced.
The Commissioner of Police says that the police will be cracking down on establishments that sell liquor, particularly nightclubs. According to Chester Williams, the crackdown is to ensure that these businesses are in compliance with the law when it comes to their liquor license. On Tuesday, the police officers made a check at a popular nightclub in Ladyville, but they have their license displayed. As a result, the proprietor of the business was detained and his stock of liquor was taken into police custody. Williams says that they later found out that the problem was because the Liquor Licensing Board's printer wasn't working. The Compol made it clear that that reason is concerning.
Over the holiday, I think it was Tuesday night, we had launched an operation at a nightclub in Ladyville. I think it's Eruption nightclub. And upon the police officer's inspection, there was no license displayed as is required by law. And so the proprietors were asked to produce their license, and they could not produce one. As a result of that, the proprietors were taken into custody, and all the liquor that was on the premises were removed, as we had intent to charge them for operating a liquor establishment without a license. However, yesterday, a receipt emerged and a letter from the Liquor Licensing Board indicating that they had paid for the license since January of this year, and that there was some issue with some printer and the license could not have been printed. Hence the reason, according to the Liquor Licensing Board, the people could not produce a license. Now, for me, I have a serious problem with that, because the law is clear that these liquor establishments must have the license displayed in a conspicuous position where it can be seen. And from January to now, to not have a license printed, I just cannot understand that. Based on that, the receipt produced and the letter, we have since released the proprietors and returned the alcohol to them.
Commissioner Williams says that his concerns about the nightclub extend beyond not having the liquor license displayed. He says that this business was granted a license, but there are requirements that it has not met in terms of the facility. He also pointed out that the Liquor Licensing Board is granting extensions to businesses that do not meet the extension requirements. Williams told the media today that he would like to see these practices stopped, and that his department will be moving forward to hold the proprietors responsible if they are not in compliance.
The law is that in order to operate these type of business, there ought to be reports from the public health, the police, and the fire. And one of the key things that the fire department looked at is the entry and exit. And a place such as a nightclub, by law, should have an entry separate from an exit. The nightclub in question have one way in and one way out. So I cannot understand how they could have passed the fire inspection. If there were to be some major occurrences in that nightclub, it will be a travesty, it will be a mayhem. Many people will perish. because of the fact that there is only one entry, exit. And so it is something that we will continue to look at. We will continue to go at those establishments, especially those that we believe are giving our country a black eye where human trafficking is concerned. And the objective will be to either have them operate in accordance with the law or they close down. I continue to harp to the liquor licensing board, and I don't want it to sound as if we're having a fight with them, but as the custodians of the law, we must ensure that the law is applied fairly to all. And I have had the discussion with the liquor licensing board, especially where the issuance of extension is concerned. The law is clear that in order for an extension to be issued, 3 conditions must be met. 1, there must be adequate security. 2, liquor must be sold in plastic or paper containers. And 3, the place must be soundproof. If a matter of fact, when the liquor licensing board issued the extension, it says right there as a condition that if any of these conditions are not met, the license is void. But for Christ's sake, the liquor licensing board knows that the places do not meet the requirements. So why give somebody a license that they know is not and void?
Parliament today had a much different feel and tone. The special sitting was called to mark International Children's Day, so young students from all over the country were standing in as parliamentarians. They took their seats in the Speaker's chair as well as on both sides of the aisle. There was no posturing to the cameras or the usual mudslinging. Instead, there was a real debate coming from the young parliamentarians who argued, discussed, and decided issues on their well-being, urging government to do more for health, education, and security. News 5's Hippolyta Novello reports.
The chambers of the National Assembly would normally be filled with elected officials from both major political parties. But today, in commemoration of International Children's Day and the 30th anniversary of the ratification of the United Nations Conventions on the Right of a Child, these seats were filled by youths. The Children's Parliament saw the committed participation of 31 well-spoken and researched students from across the country, representing all 31 constituencies. Like a regular sitting of the House of Representatives, the House orders were followed accordingly. But unlike the regular sitting, these youths demonstrated maturity, kept to the issues, avoided petty insults, and maintained decorum and self-respect. Sitting in the Prime Minister's seat was Alexandra Furman, who represented Queen Square and introduced the day's motion.
I introduced the motion of the implementation of the rights of a child in education, health, protection, and safety, the motion 2019.
With the leadership of House Speaker Porfirio Cal, participants engaged in meaningful debate related to the motion. Opposition leader Nadir Mendoza criticized the government's apparent decision to put education second to infrastructure development.
If 36.6 million US dollars and a grant of 25 million euros can be used to fix a road where an already established highway leads to, why can't 36 million US dollars and a grant of 25 million euros can be used to pave a road for the future of Belize, literally?
Why can't we foster the dreams of our young children by providing them with the necessary tools and training to go beyond what is expected?
Mr. Speaker, it is only fair to say that if we don't have high schools in our rural areas, it automatically disenfranchises children who can be in the school system. So my question in relation to all this would be, are we ready to provide the equal education opportunity that we speak about? Well, in accordance to Article 28 and the big education budget that exists, we are. Then the policies for access needs to be revisited and implemented properly. Rural children deserve an equal shot at success. So policymakers must remember the plight of rural children when developing policy solutions.
Today I come to you not only as a parliamentarian, but also as an emissary for all the Kaya South and Belizean students Belizean children who are being detained by and forced into poverty as a consequence of our sad excuse for an educational system. This government has built an economy built on IOUs and corruption, which has forced our children into a stalemate.
And her fellow parliamentarians then zoom in on the issue of health or lack thereof. Member for Toledo East and the determined Angel Arnold pointed out the need to better healthcare in rural areas.
I find it absolutely appalling that in 2019, people are still trekking through mud and high water just to access basic needs such as education and healthcare in rural areas. As if trekking through mud and high water isn't enough, they must bear their symptoms for hours in pending treatment, only to receive painkillers or a shot at a mediocre polyclinic. Mr. Speaker, it seems that the government's universal solution to issues presented by the public is to build roads. Oh, and I almost forgot, bridges and roundabouts too.
The government should also aim to strengthen the community health workers to support the preventive response at community level, as well as host more educational sessions about health diets and make children and women's rights well known. The bottom line is that there is a lot more that could be done, should be done, and will be done to help the children with nutrition and health.
The third focus related to the motion was a child's right to safety and protection. When it comes to road safety, Belize appeared in a recent list of countries that pose the greatest risk due to traffic accidents. Is the leading cause of death, says member of Stann Creek West, Diamond Martinez.
Do we feel safe? Road traffic accident is a fast-growing epidemic, killing 1.2 million people under the age of 25 each year around the world. This leaves me with the question, Mr. Speaker. Is the government also focused on protecting us from these traffic collisions and accidents? I'm completely appalled that something so fatal continues to be overlooked. Without prioritization, RTAs will continue to claim the lives of so many young people. Not to mention that it is considered the #1 cause of death for children ages 15 to 19.
Why aren't the children of our nation cherished, sustained, and protected? Why was our justice system deaf to injustice? What reason could have been more significant than this, the treatment of innocent children? I ask the government to be so humble and remain committed to the children's agenda.
While it might be viewed as a mock sitting of the House of Representatives, the issues facing children today were brought out to the forefront more so than ever. These problems continue to exist, and today's session called on the government to enhance measures to protect the rights of a child in all aspects. The gallery was filled with spectators, supporters, and a handful of parliamentarians, including the PUP's Cordell Hyde and the UDP's Senator Dr. Carla Barnett.
They put us to shame. They're well-researched, well-prepared, better behaved, rather articulate, and really in touch with the issues. I think it's a wake-up call for us as parliamentarians that we really need to listen to these kids, because we are legislating for them, we are providing for them, but we don't ever speak to them.
We all understand what the problems are. For me, it's good to know that the young people are thinking these things through for themselves and having that conversation. And in fact, today they were leading the conversation. And we need that. We need to listen to our young people. We need to understand what we need to address properly.
And so today I think we've been treated to a really special opportunity to hear from the rights holders, from the children in whose names we work, in whose names we advocate every day, just how far they feel we have come and what more they feel we could do to meet our commitment, to fulfill the promise.
And what we wanted to get from them was their perspective on the issues that are affecting our Belizean children. We are particularly delighted that their insights into the depth and breadth of the issues that they shared are well articulated and well researched.
The Parliament was the ending of 2 training sessions held over the last 2 months, and while today's session ended, the work continues.
I don't believe it's over. This is just the beginning. All great things never come to an end, and all good things start from a small point. So this is just the begin. This is not also a beginning for me, because I was also a Central American Youth Ambassador. So it's just me continuing the work in youth development that I have a passion for.
These are just 31 of the thousands, tens of thousands of children that live here who these decisions impact. And I think we should be able to listen to and acknowledge as many of those opinions as possible.
Reporting for News 5, Hipólito Novello.
Coming up, the PUP leaders challenge government for spending more than $1.2 billion without Parliament's approval.
We were born for all. The mechanic.
Opposition leader John Briceño and Julius Espat, chairman of the Public Accounts Committee, are claimants in a suit brought against the Minister of Finance, Prime Minister Dean Barrow, Financial Secretary Joseph Waite, and Attorney General Michael Perry-Feet. They are challenging government's expenditure of over $1.3 billion, including the Petrocaribe funds that were borrowed from Venezuela. The motion for constitutional relief is set against the backdrop of the Finance and Audit Reform Act, which stipulates that the proposed spending of public monies exceeding the amount prescribed under that piece of law must first be approved in the National Assembly. The People's United Party, via this challenge, is seeking a declaration that all supplementary allocations, withdrawals, and expenditures by PM Barrow and FinSec Waite of monies that form part of the Consolidated Revenue Fund whether raised or received by the country, are unlawful and void. This afternoon, Briceño and Espat appeared in the courtroom of Chief Justice Kenneth Benjamin, where Espat took the stand, followed by Joe Wade, who was cross-examined by Senior Counsel Eamon Courtney. Following the hearing, party leader John Briceño spoke of the origin of the claim.
I was actually shocked and dismayed to see how the Prime Minister has virtually abused the Constitution and the laws of this country when it comes to spending the people's money. It reminds me that coming to 2008, when he was in opposition, he criticized our government heavily for spending money, then coming to get approval in the National Assembly. And now here he comes doing that, and even worse, because one, he has spent over $1.3 billion without the necessary approvals from the National Assembly. But secondly, he passes a special law, the Petro-Caribe law, that where he is trying to legalize an illegal act when he was spending the monies from Petro-Caribe. So that by itself is something. But even more important, in that act, he said that every 3 months he was going to come to the National Assembly to give a report as to the spending of the Petro-Caribe's monies, and that never happened. We cannot continue to allow the Prime Minister to continue to blatantly break the law and disregard the Constitution. And for us, it is very important to set a precedent now for this government and for future governments to ensure that this does not happen again. We have every confidence that the next government is going to be a government led by the PUP, and we want to make sure that that does not happen in our government.
Can it be argued that this motion, however, is belated?
Why would you say belated? I mean,
considering the fact that the Petro-Caribe monies have already been spent.
But it is not only Petro-Caribe's monies. The point is that they are spending monies, the people's money, monies that we have borrowed, monies that have been spent on projects that there was no accountability, bad workmanship, bloated contracts. This is money, this is people's money. It's not Petro-Caribe. Yes, some of the money was borrowed through Petro-Caribe, but it is our money.
While Prime Minister Barrow and AG Parafit's names appear as defendants on the claim, neither government officials appeared in court today. Instead, the Financial Secretary appeared alone and was represented by Queen Counsel Justin Simon. Under cross-examination, Wade admitted that government often exceeded the prescribed limits set under the Finance and Audit Reform Act. For his part, Senior Counsel Courtney, legal representative for the People's United Party, argued that there was no unforeseen need to spend over $1 billion without following the procedures set out in that relevant piece of legislation.
First of all, this claim brought by the two leaders has to do with the public's money. It has to do with whether or not a government can take $1.3 billion, spend it how it wishes without any accountability to Parliament. The Financial Secretary was very clear in his answers. He said that the money that was spent because there was an urgent and unforeseen need. I brought to his attention that it is hundreds of millions of dollars. He stuck to his line, but I think anybody will know that you cannot spend $1.3 billion as urgent and unforeseen. He accepted that in fact this was done by special warrants issued by the Prime Minister. He accepted that the Prime Minister was aware when he was issuing those warrants that the money had not been approved by the National Assembly, and that he advised and informed the Prime Minister that the money was not there, it had not been approved by the National Assembly. Nevertheless, they proceeded. So they proceeded knowing full well that they did not have legislative approval, And the Finance and Audit Reform Act sets a limit which can be exceeded, and he told the court that they exceeded that limit on a regular basis, and they did so knowingly. It seems to me that what we achieved in the cross-examination was that, in truth and in fact, the government of Belize have spent $1.3 billion in violation of the law, and doing it with a foreknowledge. They knew what they were doing. It is our hope that the Chief Justice will hear the submissions tomorrow, and after hearing from both sides, he will issue the declarations that this type of thing was unlawful, that it was contrary to the Constitution, and that he will issue an injunction to restrain any Minister of Finance in the future from doing it.
In court, the issue of accountability for $100 million spent during the fiscal year 2012 and 2013 was raised before the Financial Secretary. According to Public Accounts Committee Chairman Julius Espat, that figure had also been flagged previously by Auditor General Dorothy Bradley in her audit report for that period in question.
This is a professional you're dealing with. He made his testimony said that he was Financial Secretary for over 12 years, if I'm not mistaken. The Prime Minister is one of the leading attorneys in the country before he became Prime Minister. There's no way that they slipped. When the question was asked of the Auditor General's report, 2012-2013, was the close to $100 million for that year alone. Was there a special warrant issued? No. Did it get approval from the House? No. Did you even try retrospectively after 12 years to seek approval? No. And then that's only 2012-2013. In the 2013-2014 Auditor General's report, there is over $200 million again. So every year the pattern continues. And it's a problem because the Constitution basically tells you you cannot take that money out of the consolidated fund. It has to come out of a contingency fund. When the legal attorney requested and asked him, is there a contingency fund established? He said no. And so he knows what they did was wrong. In fact, he testified that he advised the Prime Minister that it was wrong. So that's not just like how you're saying.
The case continues on Thursday. Work for a 27-mile stretch of road linking Corozal town to Sartaneja started last week following the inauguration of the $50 million project. The major infrastructure project is being funded by the government of Taiwan through a loan to the government. While the area representative Florencia Marin Jr. was not at the launch last week, there has been a meeting between the Northern Caucus of the People's United Party and the Overseas Engineering and Construction Company Limited. Representing OECC were Vice President James Xiao, Project Manager Pablo Shi, and General Manager Assistant Jason Lin, as well as David Wu from the Taiwanese Embassy. According to a release, OECC officials assured that they will be hiring locals to work on the project, and the PUP received assurances that the entire project will be free of political interference. Details of the upgrading of the Corozal-Sartaneja Road, which is expected to be completed in 54 months, were also presented at the meeting. In the Supreme Court, Jose Rodriguez pleaded guilty to causing death by careless conduct in the fatal traffic accident which claimed the life of 11-year-old Tezra Thompson 4 years ago. Initially, Rodriguez was charged with manslaughter by negligence, but he pleaded guilty to the lesser charge. The case was adjourned to November 25th when Justice Colin Williams is expected to hear mitigation. Rodriguez is being represented by attorney Nazira Miles, while Crown Counsel Reese Catus is prosecuting the case. On October 5, 2015, Thompson was knocked down and killed by a pickup truck driven by Rodriguez while crossing the George Price Highway after exiting a bus. Thompson was a student of St. Matthew's Government School and was returning to her home in Mahogany Heights when the incident occurred. Also in the courts, an Orange Walk resident is facing charges of manslaughter by negligence. He is Cyril Valencio, who was driving a delivery truck that knocked down and crushed Rudolph Arnold in the area of the port on Monday. 71-year-old Arnold was riding his bicycle when he was hit by the truck. A group of about 30 Guatemalan families continues to illegally settle on a piece of land along the western border in Benque, unwilling to relocate because they are of the firm belief that they are on Guatemala's side of the border. The land in question is owned by businessman Jorge Espat, who has written to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to address the very sensitive issue. The ministry told him that they had no objection to him seeking legal action, but given the location of the land and the nature of this illegal settlement, resolving it requires diplomacy by both countries. Forcible eviction of the squatters might cause an intentional incident. When asked about it, Minister of Natural Resources Hugo Pat limited his answers, saying he does not want to prejudice any kind of ongoing negotiations.
We know personally the issue between Belize and Guatemala. It is a problem that is bigger than any of us, and so I would want to limit my comments onto that. I don't want to prejudice any activity, any kind of negotiation that is happening at the present time. So let the relevant authorities do what they have to do, and then we will intervene at the appropriate time.
But in that particular land, he says that he has been in his family for about 3 generations, so he does have title to that 100 acres.
I fully agree with you, and so determining the precise boundaries is an issue that both countries would have to, both authorities would have to engage.
According to Mr. Spat, the OAS has determined that they are within Belizean territory.
Exactly. Look, the relevant authorities are there, and as much as we're going to do is provide that support to them.
After the break, Taiwan gives the police a bus to transport officers who commute. Today, Taiwanese Ambassador Remus Lee Guo-chen gifted the Belize Police Department a brand new coaster. A short ceremony was held for a symbolic handing over, as the coaster bus will be in country until another couple weeks. A similar 32-seater will also be handed over early next year. The buses will be used to transport police officers who commute from the north and west into the city. This will be offered at a discounted rate for the cops. The buses are valued at over $250,000. Here's more from today's program.
We are here today on behalf of the government and people of the Republic of China, Taiwan. I have great pleasure to make this contribution for this very meaningful purpose. And this cooperation will enable the police department to obtain a coaster bus as a safe and reliable transportation vehicle of personnel, and therefore improve the proficiency and personnel morale of the police department.
A month ago, we submitted a proposal, and within a week time, I was notified that the proposal was approved for one by the end of this year and the other early next year. And so that brought us to where we are today, that we have the official handing over of the finance for one such bus. The buses that we are getting will be the coaster bus from Belize Diesel, and we are hoping to get the first one in country by the end of December this year, and then we'll look forward to the other one. Yes, we know that the government do provide our officers with housing allowance to assist them in renting where they work, but some of them chose to live out district for good reasons at times. And so it's very disheartening to me to have to see my officers hitchhiking at night time trying to get home. And so this was very, very important for me to get for them. This should be able to eliminate the police officers on the streets at night, flagging down any vehicle that's coming their way to try and get home. We will have a transportation that will be dedicated to getting our officers home safe at night. And that, for me, is a good morale booster for our officers.
Police are embarking in a pilot project called the Safer City Initiative. The project will see the installation of a network of high-definition cameras with enhanced capabilities to help police solve crimes and beef up security measures. A command center is under construction where the network will be based and manned. Today, Commissioner Williams says that the pilot will be implemented starting next month and will run through to January 2020. Williams explains how it will work.
While, yes, we continue to make strides in our efforts to combat the crime situation, we believe that having the Safer City project will enhance our ability significantly. And so I have had a number of meetings with BTL looking at getting the Safer City project off the ground. And we have come to some agreement that the program will be piloted for the month of December and January next year, meaning December this year and January next year. And so right now we are in the preparation stage for the implementation of the piloting project. We are currently constructing the camera command center, which will be right behind the Raccoon Street Police Station. And as soon as that building is constructed, then we'll fit the building with the necessary equipments and monitoring screens, and then we should be able to pilot the program with 12 vehicle license plate reader and the 12 facial recognition cameras. We anticipate that once the pilot is successful, we will then go into full implementation by March of next year. That again will see a number of cameras deployed across the city, in addition to what we already have. And we're also in communication with the Taiwanese embassy. In fact, matter of fact, just today, I handed over to the embassy the proposal for 100 cameras to be added to the camera system we already have in place. And again, once that is approved, which I have already been given word in principle that it will be approved, then we'll be able to deploy those in addition to what we already have, plus what we're getting from BTL. And hopefully by the end of next year, we should be having over 200 cameras, high definition, high quality, with night vision capability cameras deployed across the Belize city. That will help us to be able to have a greater control of the city through monitoring of those cameras.
The personnel who will monitor the camera network at the command center are being trained by BTL. When we come back, the baddest and fittest in the Coast Guard and BDF compete to be the best warrior. The government's land amnesty program has been extended by a month and 3 weeks. The program was originally conceived as a 6-month initiative, but a statutory instrument which was gazetted on October 26 and signed by the Ministry of Lands Hugo Pat pushes the deadline to June 1st. A 25% discount is being offered for landowners who are in debt with taxes. According to the Minister of Natural Resources, Hugo Pat, the program is unfolding well. While he was not able to answer how much taxes have been collected, we're told that the amnesty is said to be in the range of $90 million. Minister Pat also explained the need for an extension.
Remember, there was a delay. This had to do with processing. It had to do with procedures, and so we had advised that the program itself would be extended initially it would be for 6 months, but because of timing and procedures, we couldn't meet the deadline as we had wanted to, and so in an effort to give people an opportunity to meet these 6 months as we had actually indicated, then the timeline was extended. The ministry is open for a payment plan, and in the event that any landowner is not able to come up with the money to pay up for the rents accrued to government, we're opening to acquiring land in lieu of taxes. And so this is an initiative that we're doing. This is only going for those large landowners. Bear in mind that the bulk of what we're doing is for people who owe $2,000 or less, so that those people, we are very reasonable with them when it comes to the payments. But for those large landowners, we're talking about, in some cases, millions, and so we're seriously looking at that issue.
Hugo Pat is aspiring to be the first deputy leader for the United Democratic Party. He is part of John Saldivar's slate, who's vying to be party leader, and with Beverly Williams, who wants to be the party's second deputy leader. The decision will fall on 560 delegates, and according to Pat, he plans to touch base with every single one of them.
We're just starting moving our own, but to be honest, we have 560 delegates that will have to cast their votes, and so we're working with them as we speak.
100 plus delegates went with Mr. Faber on a key a few weekends ago. How are you doing to touch the individual delegates?
It is my intention to touch each and every one. At the end of the day, it is an internal process. Look, people have their own thoughts, people have their own minds, and whatever they decide, it is upon them.
Take them on a trip?
Personally, I'm not engaging into that. I don't have the resources for that as we speak, but the way I'm campaigning is that, look, give us an opportunity for us to produce, and from there we move on.
The UDP convention is set for February 2020. The annual Best Warrior competition got underway this morning and continues until Friday. Teams of competing soldiers of the Belize Defense Force and the Belize Coast Guard are pushing their limits in the physical and mental challenges they must overcome to earn the title of Best Warrior for 2019. The competition is taking place at different locations, including the headquarters of the Coast Guard and the BDF. News 5's Dwayne Moody has a report on day one.
Day one of the 2019 Best Warrior competition organized by the Belize Coast Guard started today and will continue through Friday. 7 teams, the best of the best from the BDF and the Coast Guard, are participating in 6 grueling tasks, 2 of which were completed today, that are testing their mettle and endurance, as well as teamwork, among other skills.
Today marks the commencement of the 7th annual Best Warrior competition. There is no other competition like this competition in the country of Belize. This is the most prestigious military competition that there is for Belize. Today what you have behind me are 7 elements of the best fighting units from within the Belize Coast Guard and the Belize Defense Force who are competing for the coveted title of the Best Warrior. This morning what you're witnessing is what is known as a Coast Guard fitness test, which includes push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, the dips, and concludes with a 2-mile run. This afternoon is the second event of the first day, which includes a 1-mile swim, and you immediately transition into a 6-mile run. So it's going to be a fun day for the warriors out here today.
In day one, the teams are highly motivated, having completed the first leg of the competition. Defending champions are the strike team of the Coast Guard. Team captain Alford Godfrey says they are not fazed by their opponents. They are in it to win it, having competed since the start of the competition 7 years ago. Godfrey says that even the substitute for any team member who may get injured is well prepared.
The strike team went through a total of 2 months and a half training, rigorous training. Our motto is, one team, one dream. The way we train, that's the way we're going to fight. So we train hard and we fight easy. We know each and every event like the palm of our hands, so we're not guessing anything. We're not worrying about the rivals, we're not worrying about the other teams. Whatever they bring, we know what we have from the beginning. So our strategy is to dominate each and every event and get 100 points.
2 teams were fielded from the Belize Defense Force, the Special Forces team, formerly known as BSAG, and the Alpha Company team. Coming in the top 3 of the morning round, Krishan Bermudez of the BDF says that they are coming for the win this time around.
We have been training for the past 2 months, and all the team spirit, the motivation and dedication we guys actually put family aside because of the sacrifice we guys have to make to be a part of this team. You understand?
What's your anticipation? This is the first time you guys are competing in the Best Warrior competition?
This is not my first time, but this is our second time we have been competing in this competition. And our motivation and our standard is always up, so everyone is, most of the time, always got their eye on us because they know we are the best, regardless of the situation we are in right now. But we got this. The 3 days activity is nothing compared to what we guys do on a daily basis. So it is not really much of a competition, but like a warm-up for us. So we are always on a standard that no one can take away from us.
But Commander Gregory Soberanis believes that it will all come down to the final round with the Crucible on Friday, where only the true warriors will emerge as the winners.
The Crucible is where you must go through a series of events. For example, you need to flip those huge tires, which are not 25 pounds or 30 pounds. I mean, these things are heavy. You have the logs, you have that chain that is extremely heavy. And then you finish with negotiating the confidence course. By then, I mean, your legs are hurting, your arms are hurting, you're in pain. And this is where you must push through. Because we must be able, as the best fighting units or the best fighting elements in our units, to be able to go above the average threshold. And this is what this competition is all about.
Dwayne Moody for News 5.
Coming up after the break, Desmond Berry is the new champ of KTV Latino.
perspective.
This season, KTV Latino champ is a familiar face from the West. After several rounds of song competition on Monday night, Desmond Berry went on to take home the title as well as $10,000 in cash, having been voted as the #1 singing sensation of KTV Latino. Berry, a salesman from San Ignacio, impressed the judges and viewers throughout the season. Second place was taken by worthy competitor Lala Chacon Menivar, and third place by Marino Perdomo. Here is how it went on Monday night. News 5's Dwayne Moody reports.
Second place for this big competition, contestant #1, Lala Chacon Menivar.
Desmond Berry wins KTV Latino Season 4 and takes home the grand prize of $10,000. After 6 weeks of competition at the Bliss Center for the Performing Arts, the top 3 finalists were chosen after singing various types of Latin songs and blindly picking songs submitted by karaoke bars. It proved challenging for the participants, but in the end, Berry, Lala Chacon Menivar, and Marino Perdomo made it to the finale. It was an emotional night for Berry, who has been competing on KTV for some years. After performing the Spanish version of Hallelujah, he came out on top.
Emotional, excited, happy, for I have been fighting for this trophy in so many years. I didn't give up, and I'm here tonight holding first place championship trophy. I came on this stage with an extra load on my shoulder, and I had to find the strength through God. I couldn't have done it on my own. God have me here, He brought me here, and I'm standing here and I can honor my son and saying, I love my son Raheem Berry. This is for him. This win is for my son.
What's next for Desmond Berry?
I'm going to go get my own instruments, so to start my own karaoke stuff. I got to take care of my 2 daughters who's in school. And I'm going to CK Sports Bar to have some sip Moscato, like I said. We're going to go celebrate with Miss Jules and Mr. G. We did it, Mr. G, Miss Jules. Check it out. Thank you.
Another crowd favorite was Lala Chacon Menivar from Belmopan. From the onset, social media fans rooted for her as a contender for the title. But it all came down to the votes, and Menivar took second place in the competition.
I feel good. I really want to thank all the people that voted for me, and I want to say congratulations to Desmond Berry for getting the first place.
Can you share with us a little bit about what your favorite moment was at KTV as well as your least favorite moment?
My favorite moment was when we came backstage and we saw each other, all the contestants. And of course, my worst moment was when one of them had to leave.
Yes, that's true. And tell us, now that you are second place, do you plan to continue singing or doing anything in relation to karaoke?
Yes, I will continue singing, definitely. From small till I die, I think. I love singing, so I sure will continue doing the same thing.
El garrobero, ha 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 ha, el garrobero, el garrobero, el garrobero, el garrobero.
Rounding out the top 3 was the eldest of the bunch, Marino Perdomo.
Me siento muy emocionado, ¿verdad?, de haber participado, haber llegado hasta ser finalista, y eso es bonito, pues, y gracias a toda la gente que me apoyó para poder conseguir este lugar, ¿no? Gracias a todos, y a Canal 5, a la compañía Smart y Giselle, gracias por todo, a todo el personal, todos ustedes, gracias.
Dwayne Moody for News 5.
The Miss Universe pageant will be aired live on December 8th from the Tyler Perry Studios in Atlanta, Georgia in the United States. As that day inches closer, Belize's delegate for the international pageant, Destiny Arnold, is making her rounds on the media and preparing to put her best foot forward when representing the duo. from breathtaking photo shoots in gowns and swimwear, as well as the final touches on her national costume, which Arnold revealed will take the Garifuna culture to the international pageant stage. The 26-year-old says she's ready to make history for Belize by placing in Miss Universe 2019. Only once before has Belize figured among the finalists. On Monday, she rocked the red carpet of the American Influencer Awards in a chic, multicolored ensemble. But even before that appearance, Arnold was a guest on the KTLA KTLA 5 News. Here's a snippet from that interview.
What has your experience been so far since you've been crowned Miss Universe Belize?
It has been a whirlwind. I know that you're familiar with it because you're a past Miss USA. Yeah. Once you're crowned, it's so surreal. You can't believe it's actually happening. You took so long to prepare for it, and then you're just suddenly in motion. So right now it's just mainly focusing on the Miss Universe competition, making sure that I'm putting my best foot forward and ready to represent Belize on that international stage.
The new Miss Belize Universe is Destiny Arnold. Take your first walk as Miss Universe Belize 2019.
Quite the spectacle.
Right.
There are a few people there.
Right.
And you were both named Destiny. That's so interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
And my grandma knew that was going to happen. Funny story is my last name should have been Wagner. So, yes, but I took my mother's maiden name. So I'm an Arnold, which worked out perfectly for this competition because they were able to distinct between the two.
You'd have been fighting over the crown with it.
It's my crown.
I'm Wagner.
By the way, that's a big crown, too.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It's actually paying homage to the original Miss Universe crown, if you
yes,
notice.
it does look like that from the 70s.
So you saying that crown was bigger than your crown?
Just different. A different shape.
Whoa,
the competition
is
in Atlanta.
Yes,
yeah, which is kind of cool.
It is because it's so close to Belize. We actually have a flight that has a layover in Atlanta. Okay. If they take Delta Airlines, it goes right there.
So you mean you could have that audience in the crowd in the United States?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, you got to fly somewhere.
Destiny, tell us a little bit about yourself because you're not the typical beauty queen. Right?
No, I'm not.
You're like property, real estate, or
well, you know, when I'm not on red carpets or on stage, I am actually working for an insurance company as a property claims adjuster. So, yes. So all those toilet overflows that happen in your home, when those strong Santa Ana winds come and blow off the roof shingles, you'll find me climbing on a ladder, getting on top of your roof.
And do you show up in that blazer?
No. No, I don't. I have on boots and my hair is in a bun, and I am fearfully climbing up that ladder.
To support her in terms of pageantry and women, it takes a lot of work to prepare for Miss Universe. Like 80 plus women, I don't even know what the number is this year, will show up, and everyone is competing for that crown. And a lot of it, I say, is interview. I believe interview is number one.
It's definitely
because everyone's beautiful.
Right, because that gives the judges a chance to have that one-on-one time with you and really get to know the person behind the beautiful face. And that's actually my favorite portion of the competition because I always like connecting with people, and I want them to see my heart, not my performance.
And that's the news. Don't forget that tonight's broadcast is available in both text and streaming video at channel5belize.com. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/News5Live. I'm Marlene Cuellar. Thanks for joining us. And from all of us here at News 5, good night.